All right, so the lady that told me about the webbot. Oh, look at June or whatever of 2016. Uh, a lot of times for whatever reason, like the name of the PDF, for example, is Alta 2016 June. However, if you open it up, it's titled Wild Ride July 2016. So it's like even though the PDFs are named one month, it's actually the month after that inside when you start reading it that's talking about. She was talking about basically the July one. So I was reading you the two ones from May, which are technically June, from 2017 and 2016. Page 13, China Pop. And once again, here's another one. This is 2016 July, China Pop, page 13. It's incredible how that's happening right now. I will say this too. I already started skimming through this. It's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. China Pop. The new data sets for China Pop are showing that industrial accidents are going to be main topic for national discussions as several accidental fires and explosive discharges will be causing central authorities problems with the moving and relocating of potentially millions of nearby residents. The data sets are also forecasting that one of the first ever biological GMO escapes will take place this summer in northeast China as a contaminated sample from a GMO development laboratory is discovered to have escaped. The data shows that the authorities in the region are caught off guard by the discovery of the escaped creature, and both much time is wasted and much verbiage is caused by the delay in retrieving the escapee. Now, while this sounds like a living creature, being, Webbot's not perfect. Cliff can only decipher what comes back to him to the best of his ability to put it in a readable format that you and I can read like I'm doing right now. Could this have been COVID? New growth in the sets are indicating that men in white closed environment suits will be seen in the region for months following the discovery of the release, as the authorities become very concerned about some unvoiced fears around the contamination. Within these sets, we have repetitious occurrences of the word mutation, likely not good for the soon-to-be jittery, anxious locals. There are a new sets, maybe he meant new sets, indicating that China Pop is about to undergo a shaped thought evolution into cultivating all things floral plants of all kinds. The data sets are suggesting that a planned education effort will be undertaken by the central authorities as one of many anti-pollution measures. This new interest is showing as being promoted to become the Chinese national pastime over the next decade. The idea is that an effort will be made to form a link between Chinese sense of national identity and the cultivation of plant life. These efforts are showing as so successful over the next few years that Africa will be seen as a resource for the plant-seeking Chinese population. This is indicated to create new cultural bonds between the Chinese and Africa Pop. See the latter for more on this, like lower down in the report under Africa Pop. One of the major infrastructure build-out memes is developing in model space is of reforestation. This is not only within the China Pop entity, but is also seen in several other areas of global pop, and may well be indicating that a major push may come from the powers that be to create cadres of workers on behalf of the global forests. Within the China Pop entity, these sets do not have any of the justice warrior connotations, and in fact are more representative of authorities speak in terms of how the forest language is appearing in model space. The idea coming across is that within China Pop, the reforest China meme will be top-down driven and, without regard to that, will be hugely successful. So I think the main thing she wanted me to read was the first part of that, which again, escapee, GMO, lab coats, what the? Again, incredible how this Webbot, a few years late, better late than never. Whoa. I'm just going to kind of scroll through here. I'll just pause while I scroll in case there's anything new. I'll come back, like worth mentioning from China Pop. Okay, here's an interesting thing. And let's read it and then we'll talk. Okay, it's very short. China Pop has a number of new sets. Again, this was from 2016. July report. It's called Wild Ride, page 14 of 32. Very bottom of the page. China Pop has a number of new sets going with the idea that Bitcoin is going to cross the Chinese chasm in 2016, as more than 100 million Chinese will attempt to purchase Bitcoin this year. As many, I think he meant may, be expected, this shift in popular sentiment is forecast to have a very significant impact on the fiat currency price of Bitcoin. The new Chinese Bitcoin owners are described in sets by language that includes rabid to own and desperate to gamble on Bitcoin appreciation, and other language similar to the panic to own language still growing and pending for gold. The Bitcoin desperation to get language is not only building a picture of the current Chinese owners of Bitcoin being ebullient and joyful and demonstrating public smugness, but now the data is indicating that a central authority's endorsement on top of the spectacular rise in fiat currencies is going to push Bitcoin into Chinese mainstream. As the mainstream of China Pop grabs hold of Bitcoin, the data is forecasting that the hardware and phone wallet business is going to escalate beyond the concepts of the people involved. Further, the mainstream acceptance of Bitcoin is also indicated to include use as currency, especially in the settlement of gambling debts. The data is suggesting that thousands of new Bitcoin stories will be dominating the Chinese social media over the summer and into fall and into winter and into spring and over next summer. All of the Chinese domination of Bitcoin language aside, the China Pop sets have very large support at several different levels for currency change, noting that the emotional sums within the sets are at the extreme end of impact and duration, and that the anticipated spread of impact geographically and the anticipated spread temporally into the future of the impact values for the descriptor of this set are implying that China, likely through the central authorities, is going to make a currency change internally that will ripple around the planet. That's interesting choice of words, ripple, as in XRP, ripple around the planet. The data sets in supporting positions point toward gold and silver being involved, as well as Chinese central bank and Chinese central authorities and Chinese foreign policy plans. All of these are being supported by recent history and projections for currency impact to be sustaining for the Chinese central authorities. There are several sets within the supporting linguistics that are forecasting that Chinese stock markets will rally and boost as the ripple effect takes hold from whatever form of change is going to be put in place. So if we're talking about, in the beginning of that thing I just started reading you, hundreds, it says more than 100 million Chinese will attempt to purchase Bitcoin this year. If 100 million, I'm going to do the math, and that was in 2016, and the price was probably around $400, maybe around that time, or high 300s. More than 100 million. I'm just gonna go with 100 million. And if I did times one Bitcoin, that'd be 100 million Bitcoin. Like, in other words, if all those 100 million Chinese bought one Bitcoin for $400, that'd be 100 million Bitcoin. There's not 100 million Bitcoin. At that time, there's probably 15 or 16 million produced, I guess. I don't know. Therefore, it can only be a fraction of that amount. But again, for a full Bitcoin to only be $400, like, that's not that much money. So, I mean, even if 100 million of them bought, $50 worth, I'll just do 50 times $50 worth of Bitcoin. You're talking $5 billion. So, it doesn't, in other words, Yes, we saw 2018 happen, this huge run up. The Chinese were allowed to play with crypto for a while. They had ant shares, which turned into Neo, and now it's still Neo. And then the Chinese said, well, all these exchanges, we don't want you in the country. You've got to stop doing this. You know, they kind of put the hammer down on cryptos and whatnot. And we haven't heard too much since then. You know, as far as China goes with crypto. So if I go to Fiat Leak, this was a site we used to look at all the time. And it shows you who's, I'll share it. It shows you who's mining what, Bitcoin mainly. And back in the day, this would go up to China. It would just be like what you're seeing in the United States was China. And this, what you see over here in China, was actually the United States. So it was like, okay, yeah, we're having a little action over here. A little bit of action, yep. And then China was like, brrr. Now the roles are reversed. And it's been reversed for quite a while. Honestly, probably since 2018 sometime. So, I guess the point I'm trying to make, and this is just an opinion, a thought. What if what we saw in 2017, because this report was from 2016, and we all thought, oh, this is 2016, 2017 time frame. But as I just read you the top part of this, page 13, oh my God, it sounds like what's happening now. The Wuhan virus, everything else. Oh my gosh. And the other stuff I read you today from 2017 May and 2016 May or whatever it was, or June, boom, page 13. Same thing. Oh my God, this is so relevant right now. So if those things are relevant right now, why wouldn't what I just read you in the beginning about 100 million Chinese be relevant for right now? Or in other words, coming soon even. Especially with these currency wars that we're probably about to experience. What if the Chinese population is about to go crazy into crypto, and specifically maybe it's Bitcoin in and of itself. But as you know, just look back when you were a newbie in 2017 or 16 or whatever you got started, many of you. And I mean, I was new to the altcoin thing somewhat. I mean, I did do a little bit of mining of Feather coin and some other coins to turn into the Bitcoin back in 2015 or whatever when I was mining for Bitcoin. It was better to mine some of these altcoins than it was easier to mine Bitcoin and then turn that into Bitcoin, basically. So by going to an exchange and selling it. So anyways, where I'm going with this is, you didn't just come out and say, I'm only going to buy Bitcoin, that's it. You saw all these different altcoins, and this one's going up, and that one, like there's a whole smorgasbord of stuff. It's not just Bitcoin out there. Right? And now, after the dust settled, the ICO phase, you know, of massive craziness, of ICO craze, is gone. We see what's left, what's still standing, what's still going on, what's doing decent. So if you're a Chinese person and you're going to get into crypto all of a sudden, are you just going to only get into Bitcoin? No. No, you're not. Did you only get into Bitcoin? And you might say, well, at first I did. Correct. And then you realized, I better get to these other things because there's some serious money to be made in these other things too. So you had to go through a little learning curve. Okay, I got to try this. I got to do this. And it may have been difficult, whatever, but you did it. Therefore, Chinese people are human too, aren't they? Are they going to do what you did? Most likely. Especially, oh my God, a Bitcoin's in Chinese dollars, whatever it is, you know, 10,000 US, oh my gosh. How much is DigiByte? Oh, 2 pennies. Pfft. So for like $100, I can get how many? Whoa, oh, that's what I want to do. Again, it's just a number thing. Oh, look how many of those things I have. It's like shares of a company. Do I want a fraction of a share of one thing called Bitcoin, or do I want a whole bunch of those, DigiByte, a whole bunch of Electronium, a whole bunch of Theta, whatever. Several others. Wow, I got $500 and I spread it across 5 different coins. This is cool. And I got thousands of each of them. This is awesome. You know what I mean? So, I think this could be talking about now. Not 2017 when China did start to get involved. That was like the run-up to this event. You know, again, if my thinking's right here, and I don't know that it will be, but if all these other things are in the webbot are really showing us the timings now, and Cliff High has said recently, oh, absolutely, it was way off timing, but oh my God, it's here now. Then why won't this be here now? Which does in fact mean that 2020, now I did say this early in 2020. I said, you know, I know a lot of people were not talking about their all-time highs in 2020. It might be 2021, 22. I'm just going to say we might see some crazy action in 2020. I said that before COVID. And it was just a thought. Again, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Who knows? But now that I see where we're at, I feel much, much stronger than I did when I first said that. And we're about to do $2,000 a month thing coming in, a new bailout package coming. What the? Islam pop, South American pop, USA pop. Let me pause. This is just too interesting to pass up. Because when this was written, there was no such thing as QAnon. Didn't exist. There was no posts. Okay, this is a year and a half later that Q came out. Okay, the election hadn't even happened yet in June or July of 2016. So listen to what I'm about to read you, and I want you to be reminded about Q letting us know they had some serious technology in the cell phones. And I'm gonna pull it up because I want to make sure I read this properly. And it was about Google Pixel, and I think iPhone or Samsung. Google Pixel. So this one's November 11th, 2019. Google whistleblower. Project DeepMind. AI Manhattan Project. Breitbart whistleblower over Google is developing AI for planetary surveillance. Project Deep Dream version 2. Do you believe in coincidences? We have, I want to find the actual one I'm looking for though. DARPA and Google review past drops. Major steps underway to challenge these control pockets. Google Pixel, I think Samsung. Let me add that to the search. Samsung. Pixel. Hang on. I'll just pause while I find this. Alright, so here's one piece of it. Why is Big Pharma essential? First of all, someone had written, Anon wrote, MKUltra was a success and went into implementation. It is just no longer called MKUltra. That was the development program name. So then they replied to themselves basically, why is Big Pharma essential? Expand your thinking past cures. Think Google, new Pixel phone. Think Apple versus Samsung. Why was BlackBerry destroyed? We can guide you, but you must organically uncover the truth. They are watching, archive everything offline. So there was, ultimately, I don't know if it was another post somewhere in here, but it talked about, essentially being able to control somebody to do something. That guy, John Here to Help, posted it on Twitter and talked about how they could basically, make you like something. Oh, I want to go buy that new car just by, screwing with you through the TV set, through frequencies and whatnot. So, anyways, that's all happened in recent times. This was old compared to what's happening now. Therefore, how the hell did this webbot, as I'm about to read you this part, pick up on that stuff? Well, it did because it's the webbot, and that's how it works. USA Pop. Same report, page 17. USA Pop entity has some very disturbing sets going to the idea of second-guessing our decisions. The emotional sums are indicating that these new sets are going to be at the extreme ends of impacts on the emotional stability of USA Pop. The idea coming across is that we, regular humans, start second-guessing our investment and other major life decisions as a meme is going to appear that will grab USA Pop by the throat. The meme is described as being about mass mind control and small group mind control by government. The data sets are suggesting that a lawsuit will trigger some disclosure that will, in its turn, induce yet more lawsuits. The core of the lawsuit is showing as making it past the first obstacles and will be that government is actively using mind control technology in the investment media and on investment managers and other Wall Street workers. The idea from the data is that someone sues the government over what they did to his investment advisors, and thus he was screwed. The data suggests that this suit will be allowed to proceed, at least to the point of generating the mind manipulating meme. The result of the pending suit and the mind manipulation meme are showing as being disruptive to persons working in the financial world as they start wondering if they had been targeted. The data shows that the entire picture of how the financial world works is going to be put into a state of upheaval and chaos, both internally as above and then externally, as it is showing in the very large growth in all things financial or economic within the USA POP. Within the USA POP entity, there are newly emerging sets for the cession of their state movement, which is indicated to include a newly revitalized Republic of Hawaii movement. Hey, Dick Algar. Indicated to include a new revitalized Republic of Hawaii movement, along with offshoots wishing to return to indigenous aristocracy. Other states to secede movements are forecast to emerge around corruption in the federal government, as well as its offshoots that will wish to abolish the Federal Reserve. The data sets are showing that the fracturing of the national political machinery will continue to express itself in brown shirt tactics. Have we seen any brown shirt tactics lately over this COVID lockdown? Can't go to the beach. New York City, you're not wearing a mask. Arrest them, throw them on the ground. As the powers that be and their minions attempt to regain control of the process. The data sets are forecasting that escalation of the brown shirt attacks, paid political disruptive, will be reaching a near-term pinnacle, which you could throw in Antifa on that one, in which several operatives will be killed in acting out their parts. These sets are forecasting that the consequences language will be appearing very rapidly thereafter. Other sets are showing that the propaganda press is going to try to paint the attacks as being self-inflicted in a public publicity stunt. Now, keep in mind, remember Jussie Smollett? Publicity stunt, all right. He didn't really die, of course. He just got hurt, and then it was all fake anyways. Just interesting. I don't know if that's what was meant here, but it was definitely a publicity stunt. Self-inflicted and a publicity stunt. The second largest growth set within USA POP entity is headed by descriptors for economic changes and actually has more geographic references to China than any place in the USA. These data sets are emphasizing the competition between the two countries, however they are doing so within a context of roles in the global power structure. These data sets are suggesting that the USA POP is going to be a pawn over the rest of 2016 in the shifting arrangements within the global currency trading. New growth in the economic changes is going to the idea that there is a crumbling of the global economic base while the power elite are busy playing with money. The data sets are accruing for gold and silver markets in disarray with fears of offering within the economic changes subset. The economic changes subset could be easily interpreted such as to be called Welcome to Failed State Status or Highway to Third World Hell. I'm on a highway to third world hell. Many of these sets are pointing towards a June or summer near solstice, northern hemisphere, period in which we enter the aggressive decline of the base economy. The data accretion patterns are reflecting a new shape of the failure process. This new shape set includes data for social collapse. The social collapse sets are clustering around frenetic attacks that are described as being planned and coordinated, while the idea of government control of the social protest process is an assumed reality, which again, they've been doing that right now with COVID. People are trying to protest, they're trying to lock them down. These sets are suggesting that new players are about to enter the social consciousness exploitation game. However, without any of us knowing. The idea is that some freelance, unaffiliated, or self-controlled social engineers will be discovered to have been, are then in the future currently, active in pursuit of unknown goals, but using very sophisticated social engineering tools, which are just barely seen by the authorities. Oh, you mean like the shadow banning? We're removing your monetization. We don't want you talking about that. Further, the data sets are showing that mostly the tools are totally misunderstood by those few authorities who actually are able to grasp the idea. There are a number of longer-term sets within the USA POP that can be labeled as the Great Hardening, with the understanding of the context as the hardening of the USA POP in the crucible of suffering. However, some of the data sets portray the near-term future of USA Pop during and after the collapse of the financial dollar-based infrastructure. So that hasn't quite happened yet, but it's probably getting close, right? There are areas of universal irony. The data sets are quite clearly indicating that near-term mortality rates rise very rapidly during the collapse. But due to the failure of the just-in-time delivery system and the resulting rupture of the corn-based diet, many within USA Pop will end up living longer. Again, though, not that this will be necessarily viewed as a blessing, as there are many years of hard challenges ahead. Part of the hardening linguistics includes sets for a real collapse of the housing market nationally. I'm going to talk about that, but let's see. It keeps going. The data sets are indicating, because I'm going to open my email up. I was going to read you a story. A little bedtime story, or maybe an early morning story. And I'm going to give you the headline. This is from ccn.com. The U.S. housing market crash has begun, unofficially. 6% down for residential and like up to $200,000 houses, and then anything over $600,000, it was the decline in asking price was like 7 or 8%. Anyways, part of the hardening linguistics include sets for a real collapse of the housing market nationally. The data sets are indicating that in spite of all efforts to reinflate the housing bubble, it deflates as prices start to crater in the high-end markets, as that article discusses. And I'm going to open it just to catch that little part. And this is just the very beginning of what's happening right now. Real estate, very beginning. Don't be in a hurry. Let that crypto skyrocket. I told you this years ago. Let the crypto skyrocket. Guys, could you imagine? Could you imagine? Your crypto and or silver is going way up. Oh my God. You look over here and housing's crashing. So this is, you're going to get a fire sale house and you're going to pay for it cash because you got the crypto. You might buy a few houses. I said this to you guys. Why? Because I love you. And I thought it was going to happen. And it might be about to happen. I mean, it's looking like it. So here's the story, just quickly. The report says that 25% homes listed for sale are priced at a discount compared to pre-COVID-19 levels. It's not surprising, as housing sales have been plunging in the wake of the pandemic, which has probably forced sellers to list their properties for less in order to attract buyers. Weiss Analytics says that 30% of homes priced at $200,000 or less listed at the median discount of 6.3% compared to February. On the other hand, 37% of homes with a value of $600K or more have been listed at a median discount of nearly 7.7%. The price decline coincides with a drop in new home listings. Zillow estimates that listings of high-end homes have dropped 46%. Affordable homes have witnessed a 32% drop in new listings. According to data from real estate listings firm Redfin, there was a sharp annual decline of 22.7% in home sales last month. At the same time, new listings plunged 41% annually in April. Now, granted, it's because of COVID, so everyone, might as well stop listing your house. Period. So, prices set to go further south. Housing market bulls believe the low interest rate mortgages in the U.S. will be a tailwind and help attract buyers. But that's not a given, as banks are tightening lending criteria in light of the worsening employment scenario. Again, who the hell could get approved for a mortgage? Think about that now. All those 30 million people, you're unemployed. Oh, you're done. You're not getting approved. Sir, have you had a job? You have any job lost in the last 2 years? Oh, yeah, I did. I just got the recent COVID unemployment thing. Oh, well, you're automatically disqualified, sir. Have a nice day. So there's not going to be a whole lot of buyers. So the sellers, they're going to have to compete for those buyers, lower the price. Not only that, who really is going to be able to get back and work in time and somehow get approved? Again, I just said that, but get approved. Anyways, back to the Webbot report. The data sets are indicating that in spite of all efforts to reinflate the housing bubble, lower interest rates, it deflates as prices start to crater in the high-end markets. The data is indicating that the lower cost areas for housing will hold up better than any of the higher priced regions. This is showing as being true both at the macro and micro level, with the more expensive properties in all markets dropping both faster and further in price than others. At the macro level, this new cratering is described as promulgating side effects in the form of regional real estate depressions. These sets are forecasting that entire regions of the country will become known for their poisoned real estate market. The idea is that overbuilding and underemployment, oh, what's that? Underemployment, like unemployment, locally, and the sudden disappearance of foreign buyers, oh, that's right, China, we kicked them out from buying our properties, is going to turn some of the previously hottest real estate markets in the country into black holes where real estate, especially condos, condominiums, go to die. You catch that, any of you condo owners? Now, I will say this. There might be parts of the U.S. that are okay. Oh, I don't know, like Texas, maybe Florida. Or when I say okay, not as affected as bad as other places possibly. Because we don't have state income taxes. We balance our books and our budgets. So how many people are going to be fleeing all these democratically run states, New York, New Jersey, California, a whole bunch of other ones? There's only a few states in the entire United States that don't have a state income tax, by the way. Texas and Florida are two of them. And there's only like 7 or 8 total, I think. It's ridiculous. So who the hell... We're going to have all these people flooding down to our place. They're going to have to live somewhere, aren't they? So maybe we'll kind of fare okay. But I really don't know. However, me personally, you know me, I'm looking at New Mexico. There's only like 2 million people population in the whole state. We've got like 21 million in Florida. There's like 2 million in New Mexico. In the areas I'm looking, there's like maybe a few thousand or sometimes even hundreds. That's it. You want to talk about getting a fire sale somewhere? But again, you got to be able to, well, how am I going to work? Where can I earn income to pay for the house? Me personally, again, I was banking on crypto. I was not banking on, oh, I'm going to have a whole bunch of Patreon subscribers come support me, which I love you guys. I'm very grateful for that. You know that. But that's income I can take with me anywhere. And it's constantly coming in every month. This is great. It's fantastic. I could go live that dream. But honestly, I don't know if I want to live out there full time. I thought, well, I'd stay in Florida and have a second house out there. Again, when cryptos do their thing. And honestly, I think that's still my plan. Like, even though I've got this job money from Patreon, if you will, my mind wasn't, well, I could maybe I'll get a mortgage with that. No, I think I'd rather have a huge windfall from crypto come in and say, oh my God, that $100,000 house in New Mexico, which was actually pretty nice considering you couldn't get anything near like that in Florida, is now $40,000. I'm going to feel like a jerk. I can't talk you down. You're asking 40 for it? I'm not even going to ask you if you'll take 35. I'll be struck down by lightning if I do. I'll give you the 40 you're asking for. Matter of fact, do you have any crypto? Do you have crypto? You know, Bitcoin? Get a wallet. I'm going to throw you a bone on the way out. Like, you know, the realtors, closing costs, a little bone. I'm giving you, the seller, you're getting a bonus. The JSNIP bonus of, let me throw a little crypto at you. Okay? I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for this. We're going to have to deal with this pain and suffering that we're going to be put through economically, our jobs. Again, how many people are going to be able to get a house now? You've had unemployment recently? Well, no, you got to have a job for a certain number of time period and steady income. No, sir. And unemployment doesn't count as income for us to give you a house. No, sir. So, be patient. That's the key. But at the same time, we do need our crypto to do its thing. However, keep in mind, let's just say the housing market starts to tank a little bit. Like the process gets rolling, and this is going to be 2 or 3 years from now where it's like, oh my God, there's blood on the streets for the real estate market. However, crypto does its thing, at least the next thing from the last all-time high this year. Oh my God, we're over 20K, 30K Bitcoin, all these other coins we love. Oh my God, they're way up. We've got, $2 million. Oh, this is great. You can cash out. You can go into stable coin even, whatever, and capture that profit. And still be patient and wait for a blood on the street thing. At the same time, you may say, Joe, a dream house kind of came up for us. Even though it's not come down too much on the price, our portfolio is looking phenomenal. Between you and me, that's a drop in the bucket to buy that damn house at today's price. We're going for it. I'm not waiting 2 years because someone might take the damn house and that's the one we freaking want. In that case, I'm with you 100%. Do it. I'll be right behind you with the flag. Whatever your banner is, I'll be waving it behind you. Go for it, dude. Go. Like a little finish line. Go. Close on that house. Close, son. But for investment things or a second home or, again, you might be able to get 2 houses for the price of one kind of a thing. But again, what's the world going to look like at that time? Again, we all have our own thoughts and ideas of what we're going to do with our crypto returns and all that. So to continue, last thing it said, the idea is that overbuilding and underemployment locally and the sudden disappearance of foreign buyers is going to turn some of the previously hottest real estate markets in the country into black holes where real estate, especially condos, go to die. Again, if you got a condo, you better be prepared. As housing and real estate, as a matter of fact, if you have a condo in any of those Democratic states, you might want to rush to the exit. As housing and real estate so critical to both personal well-being and the domestic economy, it is not surprising that these subjects have some of the highest level emotional values within the lexicon. This is being reinforced in the accretion patterns as the data is flowing like rivers into new sets for dislocations and foreclosures and evictions, while at nearly the same rate there are alternate sets growing with squatting and secret living arrangements, wherein property being professionally managed while vacant will form a black and gray market for short and long-term rentals and collective assumption, such as takeovers of whole building complexes by more or less organized squatting gangs. Has that happened yet? No, it hasn't. That means it's coming. And again, if 2020 is making more sense for these reports, it's coming. Organized squatting gangs taking over entire building complexes. And you know what I say? You know what? You have a right to live. You have a right to stay somewhere. You didn't have to be forced into a 30-year mortgage, interest rate, paying your whole life to some effing bank that never even had the money to begin with. They put an entry on a computer. Oh, here's your loan. Not only is housing indicated to be falling into real price discovery, but all of the sets, as in data sets, referencing commercial real estate are also filling with support for the Great Crash. Again, my friends, this is a 2016 report, middle of the year. Have you seen a great crash of any kind, and especially real estate yet? No, we haven't. So it's coming. And it doesn't sound like it's just real estate again, but all the sets referencing commercial real estate are also filling with support for the Great Crash. So what is the Great Crash? That's not just real estate. That's something else. And again, 30 million unemployed. We've been given $1,200 checks. We've never seen this. 3 trillion here, 4 trillion there. Whoa, this is happening all right now in this year. In some of these sets, we find that the squatters will also be moving into abandoned storefronts. In other sets, we have data for store owners who will take up residence in their retail stores, in spite of zoning problems as their local economy deteriorates. Along with the crashing real estate, the data sets are continuing to build for car dealerships going bankrupt and shuttering. In some sets, we have data for these car showrooms and other dealership properties becoming squatters' housing, as well as being converted into warehouses. New longer-term sets within USA Pop are growing for the return of the Yankee sea trader. The data sets are forecasting something of a surge in young people going to sea for work career. The data set's growth suggests there will be social pressures that will change thinking for many of the stuck generations living with parents. These stuck generations, additional note, more or less the millennials, are going to be faced with expectation crash, in which their view of potential futures comes crashing down. However, the data is indicating that the crashing of the jobs, career, work potential will actually be a good thing, as it will motivate many millions within the lost generations to evaluate theirs and developing circumstances and to choose paths not before considered. In many of these cases, the result will be a return to the oceans as a way for opportunity. What does that mean? Fishing? It sure doesn't sound like they're going treasure hunting in the ocean, but probably fishing. Other sets with opportunity include many with retirees who will be seeking to recover pensions. In these sets, and again, hold on, All the Democratic-run states, they're begging. We need billions bailout. President Trump, no, we're not. You guys mismanaged. You guys all have income tax in your state. You have additional funding coming in, and you mismanaged anyways. We're not going to bail you out. And the pensioners are going to be pissed off. And remember the old white hair pensioners at the Social Security office? Remember that thing in one of the Webart reports? They have to have armed guards now at the Social Security office and that kind of thing. Other sets with opportunity include many with retirees who will be seeking to recover pensions. In these sets, the opportunity sets are focusing on going to Washington, D.C. and going to the State House. Much of the language paints a picture of jawboning and pandering to the mobs, and other data indicating that the politicians are lying to save their skin. Yeah, shocker. More of the lying politicians subsets are forecasting that there will be a major national effort to put forward by the federal government to establish a national environment authority. These sets have data suggesting that there will be a Homeland Security style power roundup within the disparate federal and state environmental agencies and departments. The idea coming across is that a naked power grab is going to attempt to shove all local environmental government work into a giant federal bureaucracy. These sets are appearing in model space for a rollout in early 2017. However, the data suggests that the groundwork is going to be prepared over the latter half of 2016. Now, I would ask too, is it possible that some of the stuff we read here was based on Hillary Clinton winning? And since she didn't win, Trump won, it's not going to be some of it? You know, I don't know. I couldn't see Trump doing a federal power grab personally. Unless the states who he's fighting with, these mostly, Democrat liberal states, are doing their internal power grab, and he has to consolidate and say, no, you guys are out of control. We're going to create this federal entity, and now it's going to do it because you guys are criminals, and we have to take control now. There are a large number of sets within these structures supporting the idea of theater and drama being prepared within the environmental crisis area in order to sell the idea of giant federal oversight. Many of these sets are also internally cross-linked back over to the secession movements at the state level. Note, Hawaii is especially featured in these sets for environment conflict with federal authorities. Within the mega environmental agency to be imposed, the data for propaganda are gaining as new supporting subsets that include fracking well water contamination and fracking cancer clusters and other water environmental pollution sets accrue to the larger structure. In these sets and their crosslinks, the propaganda sets are painting a picture of government using its own failures to justify more, bigger government. Other news sets within the populist USA Pop diaspora sets include references to the resurgence of gas well leaks as new episodes of methane, natural gas spewing from storage containers, will be forcing the population from their housing. I do remember a few years ago, I think it was in California. Remember the leaks, the natural gas leaks? People were being forced out of their houses. Remember that? So maybe that was that. I don't know. Many sets either have housing as directly held linguistic structures or are internally within the USA Pop entity or externally to other entities around the subject amid its many contexts. The housing sets have dozens of types of prompts for housing market crash that include diaspora and environmental contamination and financial markets corrections movements. These sets also have many links over to the bonds, and these include both sovereign and corporate as the context around the bonds linguistics. The data is forecasting that a bond backing component to the financial contracts related to housing is going to leave the market and not come back. There are sets going to the idea that prices offered for the bonds will be imploding relative to the assets on the books being backed by the bonds. The billions of dollars are indicated to disappear as the bonds fail due to the backing for the bonds that will be fading and leaving from the market. These sets are showing that the imploding bonds are going to light the fire under sellers of almost everything as the desperation for cash and liquidity rush to the headline level of the propaganda press and the alternative media. Again, if you've got the money, fire sales for all, it didn't just say housing, everything, almost everything, including housing. You want that helicopter, you want that airplane, jet ski, that boat, that tractor, whatever. Second house, third house, hey. Again, I said a long time ago, if I could stop what was coming, and it meant to throw away all my cryptos, just all the money you put in, everything, gone. Just throw it away like you got hacked, gone. To not have to deal with that and just transition into this newer, nicer thing, I would do it without even thinking twice. But if that were to happen, people would be sitting on their asses, not doing anything, still voting Democrat. I don't need to hear it. No. Sometimes a fire needs to be lit under someone's ass. And that's what's happening right now this year. With the COVID, and the lockdown, and the out of jobs, and all that. Therefore, this needs to happen. And hopefully you and I were prepared for this. I say hopefully because I think we did, right? Also to be found within the housing subsets are many with earthquakes and flood damage as primary supporting aspects. Amazing water levels, storms to come from the videos of both the rain downpours resulting in floods, describing as marinas that will flood out, be washed offshore, floating piers, docks, boats, buildings, due to the waters from a storm in a nearby county, seeking the ocean. Other bad aspects for the housing markets include the freezing of the credit system. We're starting that, we started that recently, as well as failing government-backed entities. These sets are suggesting that all levels of federal government funding are to be suspect in both purchasing power, as the central bankers create digi-dollars as a hyper rate, or maybe he meant at a hyper rate, because that's what we're doing right now, a massive hyper rate, and even availability, as many of the funding sources, including taxes, are failing. Well, guess what? With all the people locked down, I've been hearing headline after headline of the massive failing income, both at local, like county government, city government, and state government, because of what has happened with this COVID crap. These data sets are also pointing toward the coagulation and disintegration of the foreign purchasers of real estate in all the high-end markets. These sets, in their turn, are forecasting that the concentration of real estate companies, agents et al., are going to be reduced to less than half within a year, as the stream of buyers is described as stopping. As model space has progressed through the rest of 2016, the USA Pop subsets gain supporting values for riots and open armed assaults. These last can be described as skirmishes between various groups, including law, police enforcement, and heavily armed gangs. Other groups involved are showing up within the supporting sets as near or similar to law enforcement. In two separated sets geographically, we have a near law enforcement group that is showing as starting and beginning one of the strangest and longest street battles yet seen in modern USA Pop. These sets are describing a near law enforcement group with near uniforms and weapons that gets into trouble with the wrong group of criminals. They then get backup from real law enforcement, who also then get overwhelmed by the forces they face, and then yet more backup until a very significant portion of a large eastern, yet could be Chicago, city goes into lockdown as the battling forces take over the streets. The street battle is showing as being won by attrition, in which more of them get killed than us, presumably the police, and things eventually calm down, but not until several blocks of multiple million-dollar houses are involved in the sense of shot up or burned down. What many in the USA Pop will find even more remarkable is that the very next few days, it happens all over again, only this time in yet another city. The riots subsets continue to build for a goods distribution crisis. Again, meat shortages right now, some sausage, some chicken in a few places, some other things that, again, just appears to be starting. The riots subsets continue to build for a foods goods distribution crisis in which the population gets angry and something initiates a confrontation between angry populace and local government, resulting in an emotional spark that sets off more days of riots and looting. Such scenes are within the data at increasing frequency as model spaces move through July. From that point forward, there is more or less a continuous boil going on of displaced/disenfranchised and angry population at battle someplace in the country with government officialdom, usually at lower levels. So like police, sheriff's deputies, obviously. There continues to be new growth for government offices being the site for riots, as the welfare system is described as bending under the weight of the failing dollar. These sets further are indicating that welfare as an institutional view of humanity is going to be assaulted by the propaganda media, all the while that their masters are struggling desperately to keep the system going. The data sets show that the failure of the welfare system will be sporadic and irregular in terms of the when and the where that it will impact. The data sets are showing that the cards will fail as the banks managing the system will be under pressure from hackers and from assaults such that their operations are disrupted. So that sounds like the welfare cards, not just your debit card. Although it could affect it. It doesn't sound like it. The USA Pop entity has new sets that are labeled as destructive of the economy. Now, not only are the accretion patterns showing the death of the financial system, but also we have new sets forming that go to economic destruction. The accretion patterns do change as model spaces progress through June and July. In these 2 months, the aspect and attribute sets increasingly are filling in the economic destruction subsets. These include lower rates, which we've seen, we're at 0 rates now, and loss of any jobs, and again, and failure of the income tax system, which is heavily linked over to the market's entity. As model space has moved through these 2 months, the turn becomes visible across all media, including the propaganda press. It needs to be noted that the powers that be likely have sanctioned the economic collapse in these months, as the distorted numbers are actually reflective of the dismal economy. So again, I have to ask, is this with Trump in charge, or was this seen with Hillary supposedly being the one running things? Maybe some of this won't happen. The economy degradation sets are dominated by cratering of the purchasing power of the Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar. The data sets are clearly stating that the failure of the Federal Reserve is going to destroy both the USA economy and the dollar, and but the end of the dollar is showing as being active over the summer 2016. This is not to say that dollars will not be used after summer 2016, but rather that the dollar will be cast off as or any form of global currency. Further, the data sets are forecasting that U.S. Treasury bonds will be sold in mass and treated like plague carriers as fall approaches. This sell-off is showing up as a giant obstacle for the already stumbling U.S. economy. It is indicated to crush imports and send ships back home in mid-transit, which we've seen the oil tankers go back home. Chinese goods, nope, go back home. As the dollar unravels at the international level, the USA Pop entity, as it is progressed along with model space through July and into August, brings in new aspect attribute sets for the start of the riot season. Further sets are showing that traditional venues across the nation for summer activities are going to be either canceled or curtailed. Some of these sets are forecasting near empty beaches, as only locals are there since the tourism traffic crashed, along with dollar purchasing power as a result of the global treasury sales. And you can include, of course, I'll add this, the COVID thing we just recently saw lately, empty beaches. Other detail sets show county fairs and other summer attractions such as harbor festivals and planting socials will be drawing good crowds as the local population comes out for cheap entertainment and social contact. Interesting choice of words. Comes out. We come out for cheap entertainment and social contact. Social distancing. Nope. These two sets are growing rapidly and gaining large intensity and duration values. The implication of the social contact subsets include the idea that social networks are just not going to do the job when the economy fails and anxiety rises to the back of the tongue. The data sets are suggesting that a feeling of community will be driving the crowds to local venues, while poverty of the economic system will keep tourists away. The data is revealing that the summer attractions will be a real problem for the national powers that be, as groups able to freely discuss and reinforce each other's opinions are not what officialdom desires right now. In fact, there are repeated sets showing that video of mercenaries will be distributed as the officialdom sets out to incite social violence and chaos. So that's the end of the USA pop. The next one is the markets entity, but I'm not going to read it. I will say this: Webbot, sometimes like the remote viewers too, tend to make it sound a little or doomier than it actually turns out to be. And Cliff will tell you right off the yep, it does. It just errs to the side of doom, doomier. And sometimes the remote viewer sees things too that, oh, that happened, it wasn't as bad as we thought, okay, but it was still not good. So again, I want the new economy, the new system, out with the old, in with the new. But there's always a chaos period though. But that's what I was like hoping with Trump. Maybe it's not going to be quite nearly as bad. You know, we can transition to some level of, okay, it wasn't too bad. So I don't know. But I don't think I'd want to be alive any other time. I want to see how this stuff goes, and I'm going to be a part of it. And if the universe brought me a new baby boy right now, 4 months ago, am I being cursed? Or no, Joe, you got a blessing. That kid's got stuff to do in the new economy, the new future. I'm not cursed. It's a blessing. We were told that kid was waiting to come at a prime time. And we're like, we're getting older. Our kids are teenagers. I don't know what the hell y'all psychics talking about. We didn't have no kid. Thanks, but no, not happening. Oh, wait a minute. During a very interesting time in New Mexico, and leaving there, little Ian was conceived. So, again, we're going to be around. I have to be around, and he's going to be around. So, again, I don't think I'm any different than y'all. I've got crypto. You've got crypto. I've got silver. Maybe you do, maybe don't. But even if I didn't, if you're crypto, I think you're okay. It's going to be crypto, I think, that really does it for us. So, with that, take care.